right now in Columbia, South Carolina. It is 42 degrees. Hey, Mark Dawson, what is it down in Orlando, Florida?
Oh, hey, Rick. We are expecting a high of a mild 86 degrees today.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you Mark Dawson, the frontman, the lead singer, and bass player for the Grassroots. What an awesome group. So,
thanks, Rick. Thank you.
You were having some fun this weekend. You were up in Indiana, if I remember correctly, up at the I'm trying to remember, the Star Plaza Theater, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This show, I'll tell you something. Anybody who's a fan of oldies, this is truly the ultimate, show experience. It's been running now, excuse me, like 24 years in succession, and the Grassroots have been on 19 of those shows, and the only group that tops us it would be the Buckinghams. And of course, they're sort of local favorites right there. They're from Chicago, and that's just on the south end of town. They've been at every single show, but each year it's three terrific six acts. They alternate. Aside from the Roots and the Bucks, we've always been pretty much a constant. This time we played with Herman's Hermits, starring Peter Noon. And if you've seen Peter's show, that's always just a great time.
Oh yeah, was Peter there?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, that answers the question for me then, because I wondered if he was live or doing voice tracks on Sirius XM. And obviously he's doing voice tracks because he wasn't in the XM studio at 6 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. He was with you guys. But you've known those guys.
There.
You've known those guys for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go way back when. I bet you got some great stories.
I could tell you stories. I don't know how much time you have, but Peter in particular, I've had the honor to not just play on shows with him, but I've actually played in Peter's band. I filled in for a bass player of his for about 9 months. And we went, we got to travel to Singapore and in Canada. I go to Canada quite often, but the trip to Singapore was just something. He was a superstar. I mean, they looked at him like he was brand new today. And he's such an entertainer, and he handles people so well. It was really a pleasure to spend 5 days in Singapore with Peter. What a fun time.
World traveler, huh?
Well, yeah, he keeps that guy plays about 125 shows a year. He just keeps going.
Cool. Well, let's play a Grassroots song right now, and we'll come back and talk more about all the events of the day way back in the day. So let's start off this set with a little bit of Midnight Confessions now. Grassroots. We're talking with Mark Dawson, the frontman, lead singer for the Grassroots, along with being the bass player there. There you go, the Grassroots, and a little bit of Midnight Confessions. Mark Dawson, the frontman and lead singer with the Grassroots. And you also play bass. The Grassroots, Mark, is a classic rock band. That is, it has four players: a keyboard artist, a drummer, 2 guitars, and of course the singers are also the instrumentalists there, right?
Well, that's true. Over the years, it's actually morphed into different things. For a short while, there was the Grassroots toured and even recorded as a 5-piece band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was little. It's funny if you ever see or pick up the album Golden Grass. You'll see the four original guys, on the front, and they're smiling and they're happy. But if you flip the record over, there's a 5th guy in their picture, and it was P.C. Furlong was added as an additional guitarist, probably about 71, and played with the band for a few years, but was really never. The Grassroots were one of those bands you heard them on the radio, but you didn't really know their faces a lot, and that was just the way the group was. It was done. It was a pop sound. You got to see Rob Grill's face. Of course, Rob was the original lead singer from the first record on. But you didn't really see them a lot, the group. And so they did briefly have a 5-piece band they traveled with.
Yeah, Rob actually picked you to be his successor, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That was something we. The story behind that, Rick, goes back in 1978. Now, by that time, of course, the Grassroots weren't pumping out the hits, although they still were recording with MCA Records. And I was playing a show in Macomb, Illinois, which is really out in the cornfields, if you really want to know where that is.
Everywhere in Illinois, just about outside of Chicago, right?
Yeah, it's about 4 hours southwest of Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And was playing a show out there, and my group, at the time, I was with a group called Street Kid, kind of popular in the Midwest clubs and such. And we were opening the show at the field house at Western Illinois University. And there were a couple thousand kids that were there. And the part of the deal was that we provided the gear for the grassroots, not only just the stage, but I mean guitars, amps, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So when Rob got there and they came for a sound check, that was really the first time I met Rob, and I was talking to him about the gear. Oh, here's the bass amp, here's the guitars I have. And he looked at me and said, he goes, whatever you think is right, man, I'll just play that one.
Mm-hmm.
I said, all right, so I hooked him up, and we had a little sound check, and he wanted to go out and hear the bass in front. So I sound checked with the group, and I believe we played Temptation Eyes, and Rob walked up to me and he goes, hey, why don't you play a couple songs with the band tonight, and I'll just sing. I said, really? I was a huge fan. I was an absolute grassroots fan. And so he's asking me to play so he can just take the mic and sing, because they were a four-piece at that time. I said, really? He goes, yeah. Just stay by. I'll wave you up here, and you can play the song. And I knew all their songs. So
oh, yeah, sure.
So that was really my first time playing with the grassroots. And I just stood there and smiled and played the songs. And when it was over, we exchanged phone numbers, and over the years kept in touch, here and there. And when Rob, the grassroots finally broke up, which was about 81, he wanted to get something back together. We talked back then. It just wasn't right for me, and what I was doing with my group at the time, we kind of traveled. Mm-hmm. A few years went by. We talked again. Hey, can we hook this up? And they were starting to get the sort of revival of the '60s bands was happening really in the mid '80s. About '85, things started to come back again, and there was work to be had. And this went on for a few years, and finally got into the '90s. I played a few dates. Rob had some health issues. Back then, it was the hip replacements and things. I played a few dates with the band, just a couple, filled in and such, and still couldn't do it. I had a new daughter, and the family was, we were doing things. We ended up moving to Florida, and once I moved to Florida, we were back in touch again, and then it got more serious because Rob kind of kept track of what I was doing, and really liked the way I played and the way I sang, and he'd always say, you sing circles around me, which is absolutely not true, but it was always a nice compliment from Rob. And finally, when we got into the early 2000s, he had some other things that were going on. He had a head injury. He had shoulders. His body was really taking a beating over the years. And I started to pick up a few dates again. And by 2006, I was playing fairly regularly. And in 2000, so that, I'm picking up dates here and there and still playing with my other groups. But in 2008, he finally said, will you just join this band and make it permanent? Will you just do it? And at that time, the timing was right, and I said, I'm in. And I've been playing and singing with him
as they say, the rest is rock and roll history, huh?
It is history, yes. And he's passed that torch to me. I mean, I love singing with Rob. They're doing, because there's a lot of dual vocals in grassroots songs, so that was always fun. But now I am the sole lead singer. And that's SOLE, soul.
Well, the current members of the grassroots are yourself on lead in vocals and bass, and Dusty Hanvey playing lead guitar and backing vocals, Larry Nelson keyboard and synthesizers and backing vocals, and Joe Doherty on drums and percussion. Is that's the group as it is now? So
that is the group, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Those guys, each of them have got, oh my gosh, 30, I mean, between them, there's 90 some years of grassroots playing in there. Those guys have been in the band no less than 3 times longer than any original band member, with the exception being Rob. Rob was around for 47 years.
Wow. Well, there's something that was kind of interesting. I'm looking through my notes right now, trying to find something that I found was very interesting, and that is that the Grassroots actually hold the all-time record for a one-act U.S. concert by performing for 600,000 people on July 4th, 1982 in Washington.
Yeah, at the Washington Mall. I was not at that show. However, I knew about it at the time, and that was quite the pinnacle. I mean, that was... the event was huge, yeah, and the time was right, because that was right when the revival of the 60s was really coming back, so that was a big boost to the band, and I've heard the recording of it. It was an amazing performance. Rob was as stellar a singer as you could ever want on that show. Wow.
Yeah, and also another interesting statistic is that the Grassroots hold a record between 67 and 72 by being on the Billboard charts an unbelievable 307 straight weeks. That's an interesting statistic.
It is, and I actually question how that happened and such. And what it came down to was the producers. Steve Berry was one of those guys, and P.F. Sloan. They were kind of the main producers. They also worked with Lou Adler and some other great people back then. But they had a knack of just knowing right when it was time. That song was just starting to run its due, fade a little bit. And they'd bring out that next top song, that big hit, and somehow it would rise up to the charts, but the other one would kind of remain on there as well. So the string, they never really let a song fall off the chart. They always had something to follow it up with.
They were double dipping the top 40. I tell you what, let's do a quick station ID and play a little Temptation Eyes. We'll come back with more of this interview, with very interesting interview that's going on right now with Mark Dawson.
You got it.
Got those Temptation Eyes. Is that anything like bedroom eyes? I don't know, man. That's the Grassroots here in Our Generation Radio on WUSC FM with yours truly, Rick Wrigley, alumni DJ, and Mark Dawson, the front man and lead singer for the Grassroots himself, right here on doing a live interview. We got connected up, Mark, through a gal by the name of Holly Hammett. Give her a big shout out down in Beaufort, South Carolina. Holly was
Captain Holly.
Captain Holly, that's right. She was here years ago, and is this something you didn't know? She was actually a DJ here on WUSC FM under the name of Dallas Alice. So and you and I were just talking about how it all comes together, how close radio is. Everybody knows each other, and the same way is true for rock and roll. You were in an airport sitting down some time ago,
with Paul and the guys. I was telling you, we kind of cross paths. The musicians cross paths quite often. I was just saying, I was sitting in an airport. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, and waiting for my flight to, I forget where I was going, Yuma something. And I'm just sitting there sort of half asleep, and a guy sits down next to me, and I just sort of glance over, and I go, "Oh, hey, Paul, what's happening?" And Paul Revere, from Paul Revere, the race, sits down next to me. He says, "Oh, hey, Mark, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to Yuma. We're going to Scottsdale." It's one of those, you just try, and we see him at hotels, and once in a great while, even like in a restaurant in some town, like, "Why are you here?" And, we're playing the so-and-so theater. "Oh, we're playing the convention center." There's a lot of private events that go on that you never even see on Polestar or any kind of listings.
That's right.
So it is a tight-knit community. We just seem to see each other here and there,
Sooner or later, you guys are going to get caught on somebody's phone camera, and you're going to wind up on YouTube doing that stuff.
Well, I worry about things with those phone cams, I'll tell you.
I know. You can't get away with anything these days because everybody's watching.
I know it.
Let's talk a little bit about your solo career. You were, of course, with some other bands prior to joining the Grassroots, and even though you're still the guy for the Grassroots, the lead singer, you're also embarking on a solo career, and you just released a CD not too long ago called I'm trying to remember. Speaking Out. Making noise. Yeah, there you go.
But I do speak up on that record, though.
Yeah, that's right. So tell me about the process that you went through recording the CD and some of the songs on it.
Well, this just, and I probably should have even told you, this is actually my second solo CD. I did one in 2009 called Chapter 2. And really the reason behind Chapter 2, it was sort of a different musical direction of my life. I had always been in a more high-energy, rock, trying to sing as like like Mickey Thomas from Starship, or I want to sound like Sting. And it took me a lot of years to realize that's not really my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to credit Rob Grill directly for kind of bringing me into the grassroots and being, over the years being in touch. It sort of made me realize, you can sing in a smoother, lower voice, and I became so comfortable with it. And that's when I put out Chapter 2, which, it actually, I kind of got a nice fan base from that, and they enjoyed the songs.
Mm-hmm.
But these few years later, with Making Noise, my wife sort of talked me into it. She said, why don't you, you're always in your little studio making noise up there. Why don't you, put a CD out? And so the title actually came directly from her. And the process was exactly that. I actually began tracking it right in my house. I have a drummer that I work with in Orlando a lot, and he's a solid guy, a guy named Drew Steinke, that he just kind of plays what I'm thinking. And I'm not really good on drums, but I can say something with Drew, and I go, yeah, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
So we laid down the basic drum tracks right in my house, and that would have been about a year ago. In fact, about a year ago at the end of January last year. And that went on for a little while. We tracked drums, and I started to add instruments little by little. And I had written most of the songs. I actually had them come back in September and do a few more. But I sort of built the song from the ground up. I had the idea, started laying down keyboards and guitars and bass and any instrument that I could get my hand on that I like to. I like to learn things just because they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up a mandolin or a banjo or. So
what instruments do you play?
Whatever's in front of me, I'll figure out.
Uh-huh.
By trade, I'm a guitar player / bass player. I love bass more than anything. I'm passionate about playing bass. But I'm okay on guitar. I can, if you hear the CD, I rip off a few Jimi Hendrix solos on there.
Well, if you're going to copy, do it from the best. Right.
I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding about that.
Jimmy's up there looking down on you right now saying, huh?
Yeah. I'm more like Jimmy's brother, Johnny Hendrix. I can play with all the stuff.
Gotta love it. Well, let's give a listen to one of the tracks from your new CD. And as a matter of fact, this happens to be one of my favorite tracks from your brand new CD. Which, by the way, thank you. I appreciate getting the CD and the autograph on the CD and the wishes there. I do appreciate that. So let's listen to a track called "The Gambler." There's Mark Dawson. So that's the new sound of Mark Dawson here on WUSC-FM, The Gambler, from his brand new CD, Making Noise, which you did up in your little studio up there. Yeah. The show you did this past weekend involved a well-known top 40 DJ from the 60s, Dick Biondi, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dick is such an icon, everywhere, but being in the Chicago area, people just, they see him even to this day, and he's getting up in age, but he still looks fantastic. And you just see him, and you go, oh, Dick Biondi. He's a rock star of radio, let's face it.
Oh, yeah. He and Cousin Brucey and all those guys from back. We all listened to them. WLS, sure. WCFL, WABC, man, all those stations back in the day, I'm telling you. Those were...
Hey, Rick, you were probably like me, man. When I'd go to bed at night, I'd put the little transistor thing in my ear and just lay there and listen to whatever the heck they were doing.
Absolutely. And I remember being on the radio at nighttime, and the number of kids who would be out there listening in the evening, usually in their bedrooms, and then you get this phone call sneaking at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. Will you play so-and-so for me? Oh, those were good old days,
Yeah, I miss that. That was fun stuff. I miss that.
Well, you got some gigs coming up that I know you want to talk about as well.
Yeah, I got a few. Well, on February 9th, we're going to be in Fresh Meadows, New York, which is, I guess, sort of off of somewhere in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fundraiser of some sort. I wish I knew the organization, but it is on Polestar, and it's called at the St. Francis Prep Auditorium, and that's just grassroots only. So just be us. We'll be doing a 75 or 80-minute show. On February 16th, we'll be out in Auburn, Washington, with the Buckinghams.
Oh wow!
It's an Indian casino called Muckleshoot. Muckleshoot Casino. So. That's a new one for us. It's a new venue, but all the way out in Washington. But I did want to mention this. On February 14th, and I've been very fortunate being with the grassroots. We do this every year. We do a show for the help wounded veterans. And
oh, yeah.
Not just, it's a lot of Vietnam veterans that are still in a hospital from way back in the day. But it's Persian Gulf veterans, it's guys and ladies who are serving in Iraq these days. And we get to visit the hospitals and meet these people face to face and thank them for their service. And, you know, some of them they may just be a post-traumatic stress, and maybe they're going to get better and get out, but some of them lose limbs and are blinded and things. And I've been so fortunate, and I just feel blessed. I get to do a concert for them every year on Valentine's Day. So, I mean, I miss not being with my wife and all that, but she understands this is important. They need love too, and we can give it to them through music. So, anyway, that's in Grand Junction, Colorado, at the Avalon Theater on February 14th. So if you're in Colorado and you need something to do, that is a major event, and they do sell tickets to the public, and all the money goes to the veterans. It's a beautiful thing. I love doing it. So thanks for letting me tell you about it, Rick.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, thank you for taking the time to come on the air with us this morning and tell our audience all about the grassroots, the history, and your history with them, and all the interesting folks you met over the years. We really appreciate it here. So
anytime, Rick.
Anytime.
You know,
and
if you want to do a storytelling show, just invite me. I'll tell stories.
We'll have to do that. Yeah, tell all those stories, man. Oh man, because you are. You know, one of the living embodiments of rock and roll history right here. It's kind of, it's always interesting to talk with you. Every time I talk with you, I learn something new about somebody that we all played on way back in the day. So, Mark, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I hope I can entertain you continually.
It sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. Mark, thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you sometime next week. So, if you'll hang on the line, we'll talk to you in just a second here. But in the meantime, let's play a little bit of the Buckinghams, who were on stage with you this past week.